There were A specials and B specials. Now, I don't know what happened. I think the A specials became policemen who were subsumed into the RUC, but the A specials were only called out at times of emergencies. In a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt, he sat and I saw him sway. Then his lips went into a kind of grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. "And boys," says he, "you don't know me, and none of you care a damn. But I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke it's true, that one of yous is a hound of hell, and that one is Dan McGrew." I was born in McSweeney Street in Dundalk, although a lot of people find that hard to believe, because I have the traces of a northern accent still with me. And if you look at Dundalk over a period of 50, 60 years, you'll find it divided into two classes of general people: the people who are influenced by the southern part of the county, and the people who are influenced by Cooley, South Armagh and Monaghan. They have the northern part of the county. Dad was involved in the Civil War, and so was my mother, on opposite sides, strangely enough. And Dad used to tell occasional stories of what happened in the Civil War. And so the actual creation of the border was part of my psyche, if you know what I mean. The Civil War began basically in the spring of 22 and went on for a little over a year. Dad was made an army officer in February of 23, and he would have been picked because he had been involved. Not alone was he an IRA man, he was an IRB man, and he used to tell me stories about they were utterly loyal to Collins. IRB was the Irish Republican Brotherhood, which was an inner circle of the IRA. Who were invented by, I think, probably they go back beyond Collins, but he revived them to use them as an elite group. It seems strange to me that people don't know this now, but I suppose they don't, and young people mightn't. There were A specials and B specials. Now, I don't know what happened. I think the A specials became policemen who were subsumed into the RUC. But the A specials were only called out at times of emergencies. The B specials were temporary policemen who were armed. At the beginning of the present troubles in the early 70s, if you went across the border, you'd see them walking along the roads with their guns at the ready. Everybody was relieved when they were taken off the roads, and even the Ulster Defence Regiment was a more disciplined force than they were. The trouble across the border started in 56, was called Operation Harvester by the IRA, I think. And what really brought home was when a number of young men blew themselves up, or at least we presume that it was never established. They were making a bomb or had a bomb out on the border at Eden Tubber. And I would like to think that I took the first picture to television of this area to Belfast to be shown on the BBC. It was a picture of that house blown to smithereens. And my father, being a member of Garda Síochána at that stage, had actually searched the ruins, and he told me of finding parts of human remains stuck in the bushes, which stays with you over the years. Dublin Reporter came here and described Dundalk as El Paso, meaning it was a drab town where people were walking the streets with guns. Dundalk people, I don't feel this way, but a lot of Dundalk people feel slighted if you were to say Dundalk was El Paso. I wouldn't think that way, but a lot of people did, and very touchy about it. The big memory, and the important memory to Dundalk people, was the bomb that occurred in Church Street just before Christmas of 1975. There had been bombs in Dublin and Monaghan, and I think there was one in Castleblaney as well, where people had actually died. But it didn't touch Dundalk until that night, when I think 3 people died as a result of the bomb in Crow Street, outside Case Tavern. But that night was burnt into my memory and always will be, because Dundalk people at that stage felt they just didn't want to know about what was happening across the border anymore. And a lot of the sympathy drained out of the cause. Presumably they realised what warfare was. And Dundalk people really didn't want to know. I remember Dad reading out the paper to me that the atomic bomb had been dropped in Hiroshima, and we didn't realise that 100,000 people were wiped out in the blink of an eye. But later I came to realise that that's what war does to you. Now, there was one brief period when there was a revival of sympathy, was the time of the hunger strikes in Belfast, where Bobby Sands died. People did march, and quite a lot of people from factories marched in support of the hunger strikers. But that's the only incident I can recall where there was a sort of mass support. The general feeling, of course, was just ignore it, which you can't do, of course. The ceasefire was gradual, the effect of it. One of the things that greatly influenced the people of the area was the Oma bomb. If you can recall, that was August of 98, was it? People in Dundalk were revolted by the idea that a Catholic town in the north should be bombed, and so many people across were killed by a careless bombing. And that changed a lot of feelings towards what might or might not happen. And that after that, there was a gradual settling down and increasing. Well, people might have been slightly in favour of IRA activities up to that point. But at that point, people thought, well, look, these are terrorists. They're not just ordinary people fighting for freedom or fighting for even for political change. These were people who were carrying out acts of terror. Now, that may or may not be true, but that's the way it was read in Dundalk. And ordinary people went out on the street and protested against this ever happening, you know. I always respected people's views no matter what, and I think people are entitled to what they believe to be true, you know.